We're so happy to have Dr. Chad Fleming here with us today. Uh, this is how to manage your patient engagement amid staffing challenges. And before I introduce Dr. Fleming, I just want to remind everyone to use the chat feature to submit questions. We will get to those at the end. So Dr. Chad Fleming graduated from Northeastern State University, Oklahoma College of Optometry in 2002. Upon graduating, he went into private practice and is now CEO of a 9-doctor, 5-location practice, Wichita Optometry in Wichita, Kansas. Along with practicing optometry, Dr. Fleming has worked as a consultant for Rev 360, Illuma, Weave, JJVC, iMatrix, Solution Reach, AOA Excel, and he is the founder of Optometry CEO and Partners in Profit. He has been featured in numerous professional journals and the Wall Street Journal. When Dr. Fleming is not involved in optometry, he spends his time with his wife of 25 years and their 3 children. So Dr. Fleming, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Barrett. And yes, it's a privilege to be here and spend this next probably 45 minutes with you guys. I know that if we have technical difficulties, Barrett, please let me know as far as the, because I've had those in the past with this, but as far as 45 minutes with you guys, we're going to be talking about some staffing issues, get through some bread and butter of what it means to be boots on the ground, running your practice, making sure that it's efficient, and basically managing those difficult times that come each and every week. So one of the things that's really helped me in this is that my mindset has been every week, I just need to be prepared for new problems, because it seems like my job has become not only problem solving in the clinic with patients and dry eye, glaucoma, a lot of what doctors are doing. We're also solving problems in the practice and trying to make things run smooth in an economy where inflation is going up and actually optometry is deflating as a business. And so we're having to deal with a lot of this separation of inflation, deflation. How do you fill in that gap and not let your profits sacrifice or not let your profits go down? And so today we're going to be talking about how to manage your patient engagement amid staffing challenges. So staffing is one of the largest, if not the largest, overhead costs that you have. Statistically, staffing has ranged from 26% to 28% of your overall costs as a business owner. That is now pushing up over 30%. But yet we all know that managed vision care has not given us a raise since the 90s. Insurances are not giving us more for visual fields, photos, procedures. They're, in fact, one of the things that's happened recently is we did the LipiFlow for many years. And then with the decisions that have come about with Medicare putting in guidelines that requires us to file LipiFlow, we now have had to look at pivoting in regards to the reimbursement rate does not cover what a applicator covers. And so just dealing with those types of problems makes it very difficult to walk out of the clinic and then be excited about optometry as we're working harder and harder and we're receiving less and less of a reward when it comes to finances. And let's face it, as a society, there's a lot of negativity in society over the last number of years. And so we can also feel like we're being attacked from the patient base as far as just negative societal impressions and how people are handling life. So next slide, please, Barrett. We'll be talking about problems create opportunities. So I coach a basketball team of 5th and 6th graders, and I really love the opportunity to teach them about life. It's very hard for them and very elementary to watch them lose a game or to watch them double dribble and get the ball taken from our team. And I see it as a problem, as something that they're discouraged in, and they can, one, either hang their head, they can run to social media and complain to all of their friends and see how many people will agree with them and make them feel better. Or Third option is they can look at a problem or a hiccup in their day as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to pivot, and an opportunity to actually get better out of our failures or out of our problems. So let's talk about what the problems are. Pain points in staffing. So if you look at how the old way, the old model is to today's model, staffing was patient engagement required staff at pivotal areas along the patient engagement. So when I talk of patient engagement, from the first time the patient encounters you to scheduling an appointment, to verifying insurance, to coming into the office and having pre-tests done, to being seen by the doctor, to going in the optical, to ordering a pair of glasses, to then being reminded that their glasses are ready to pick up, to picking up the glasses, scheduling appointment. That's a full circle of patient engagement. So 2020, COVID brought about a lot of, and after brought about a lot of problems when it came to staffing. We've gone through a number of years where staff have been very unreliable. They've come for the interview, or they've filled in that we've put out a classified, or we put something on Indeed that says, hey, we need somebody. They respond to that. A lot of that's automatic response. We contact them. There's a nice little exchange by email, by text. Hey, we'd like to meet you. Boom, we don't see the person. They don't even show up. Or worse, we get them hired. Day one is Monday. They show up Monday and decide that after day one, they're not going to work at our office and they're going to move on. So those of you who are on here, this is not a new thing. In the last couple of years, it's been extremely frustrating, the number of people that have cycled through your office as staff, and then keeping staff for long periods of time creates a lot of pain points and makes you ask the question, why am I practicing optometry? If you could practice optometry, just stay in the clinic. That sounds like the grass is greener on the other side, because then you wouldn't have to be replacing a front desk person all the time. You wouldn't have to be training an optician because all the veteran opticians have moved on. So a lot of these things we're all experiencing. So in doing this, let's talk about potential pain points and potential ideas. One of my favorite things is not to talk about ideas, because all of us have great ideas. It's executing the ideas that makes the difference between a practice with a lot of good ideas and a successful practice. To be successful, you have to take ideas that we'll be discussing today, and you have to go and implement those. So, Barrett, next slide, please. Staff shortage for lower hourly wage positions. So what we're finding is, when you look at hourly wage, somewhere between, let's just figuratively say, $12 to $22. Where we're finding that the most difficult staffing position is in that $12 to $15 an hour staffing position. That seems to be the position. For typical terms or averages across the US, that's going to be your front desk person. That's potentially going to be a somebody who's scheduling appointments. That might be somebody who is an optometric assistant, maybe just doing some pre-testing. That could be somebody in the back end, doing some filing through your EMR, scrubbing through your EMR, maybe an entry-level billing position. Opticians traditionally are going to be paid in the 15 to 22 hour or dollar amount range. And so when we look at staff shortages and we look at percentages, the percentages are typically on this lower piece. They're continually looking for something better that pays more. So as we all came out of COVID, we've all come out of this cycle. Now guys like myself, women like you who are owning practices looking for staff, we're all competing for these hourly positions. And so in this, one of the things that we've had to do is we have had to prioritize the patient engagement. So what we've done is each point along the touch point that patients have with the office, we've identified those. And in identifying those, first touch point, patient needs an exam. So they either call, they get online. Hopefully, you guys have online scheduling. I will talk about that a little bit later. That for 2023 is, I'm surprised when I hear offices that don't offer 24/7 online scheduling, because it allows the patient to schedule the appointment when it's convenient for them and not convenient for your hours. And so they engage with that. Then we get the insurance information. Then they come into the front. What we have done that made a little bit of a riff in the feedback wise, I wrote an article about doing some stuff in regards to replacing the front desk and just having a kiosk that's available when a patient comes in. They walk into a reception area. There's no longer a front desk, and there's a check-in kiosk. At that check-in kiosk, very simply, they state which doctor they're there for. They state their last name, their phone number, things that we can quickly identify them. They make a checkbox that says that if we don't have their updated insurance information, which should have been done ahead of time, that we will go ahead and file them as a cash patient. They click the button, hit submit, go and sit down, take a seat. Immediately at this check-in kiosk, once that submit button is hit, the spreadsheet that shows in real time throughout the 5 locations shows who's checking in and why. It allows administration to keep an eye on who's checking in at which office. It also allows the now real person, not a check-in kiosk, but the OA or optometric assistant who's going to come and get the patient. It shows them immediately when they have checked in real time based on that patient hitting submit on the kiosk. So this is one of the things that we've implemented at 3, going to be 4 of our locations. Actually, this Friday, ironically, Friday afternoon, we are taking out another desk, and we are putting up a couple of walls to create a reception area that does not have the front desk and basically has a landing zone for the patient when they come in to check into this kiosk. I know a lot of you will push back and say, well, we can't do this at our place. It doesn't make sense. It won't work. I started in our 5 locations. 4 of them are in the city. One of them is in a small town of 6,000. I heard it's not going to work. People hate it. They're going to stop coming. Our practice there has continued to grow and grow. And this was just one thing that was a change that the patients of a small town said, I don't know if I like this. But yet when they go to Walmart, when they go to the grocery store, they have auto checkout. They're not interacting with um, live people. They've adapted to it. And it's been a great answer for us, because front desk was one of those positions that now we have not eliminated it. We've actually moved that person or repurposed that person to a scheduling position, which I'll talk about here in a bit. So staff shortages on lower hourly wage positions, that's how we've addressed more of the front desk. Also, in this webinar, I'll give some more insight into other areas that we have looked at wage positions and repurposed them. Not necessarily gotten rid of. I've not let anybody go at this point. We've repurposed. We may not hire again if they decide to move on, but we are driving the boat instead of the staff driving the boat in the hiring process. Barrett, next slide, please. This complaint, some of you may or may not get, but it's, I never talked to someone at Wichita Optometry. This was a transition when we went to voice over internet protocol, which is VoIP. Obviously, this is put on by Weave today. Weave has a phenomenal system. One of the reasons we moved to Weave many years ago was because of the voice over internet protocol. It allows your phone calls to be over the internet. It allows you to take a lot more phone calls in. This has allowed us to manage the scaling up that we've had to 5 locations. We have a centralized communication specialist. So when I talked about the front desk, we now are able to take a front desk person and put them on the phone, text messaging, emailing, interacting with patients where patients want to interact. Patients do not want to check into a live person. A lot of them are even getting away. Phone calls are not convenient. We are very busy with text messaging, and having the right people in the right place is extremely important. The weave aspect of the VoIP and the texting with that allows that to be very efficient and very functional. But it goes back to my first thing is staff shortages. Get the right people in the right place, and then you will find that you're able then to even pay more in those positions. So that's for the complaint. I never talked to someone at Wichita Optometry. We do get those complaints, but with the text messaging, those have gone down significantly. So if you are only on the phone, utilizing a phone, you're probably in 2012 to 2015. Things have changed. Patients, you interview them under 60, and they want to text. They want it convenient when they're available. Next one, Barrett, let's talk about there's too much congestion at the front desk. So again, the front desk staff person, this was pain points with staffing. And so one of the things that we have done successfully is digital forms. We used to, patients came in, they'd come in for punctal plugs, they'd have an informed consent, they had to sign that, review that in the reception area before the optometric assistant came and picked them up. Now everything is sent to them prior to the visit. They can review it on their phone. They get it on their phone the way it's set up. They can just sign it on their phone. Makes it very easy and very efficient for not only the patient, but also for our office. So when we get those forms are already in place. We're ready to roll when the patient is there. The other thing is that you want to progressively get rid of paper. Some of you are still putting the scanner, smoke coming out of the scanner. You want to get rid of that. One of the best things we've done is with collecting these forms at the beginning, patients come in, here's the big hiccup. Well, I got a new insurance card I forgot to give you. Well, they've checked into the kiosk, so they don't give us that at the kiosk. They give us that to the optometric assistant. The optometric assistant on an iPad quickly takes a picture of the front, takes a picture of the back, attaches it to the EMR. Away we go. Allow the billing and the verification people to know that we've got an updated card on file. That happens in the pre-test. Again, we have just skipped over that patient engagement of the front desk. So that seems to work quite well. That seems to be efficient. We're still working out the bugs, but that quick picture and letting verification know that we got a new card seems to work very well. And we can then get the OAs trained up to do what they do best, and that is pre-test the patients, get them ready to see the doctor. So that's avoiding some of the congestion too that happens at the front desk. Next slide, Barrett. All right, optical. I've heard this multiple times. Barrett said beginning. It's always weird hearing your bio because you're like, well, I'm not that impressed with that guy, and that guy happens to be yourself. But through the 20 years that I've been practicing, I've had a great privilege to meet with a lot of doctors, step into their practices and problem solve for them, help them to interact and understand how to be more profitable. And one of the things we've run across multiple times is people are like, we just can't be profitable in the optical anymore. So we just kind of let that roll. We assume that's a break even. And I say, you have not adapted. You have not changed. We're not the old country club way of doing glasses, frames, and lenses anymore. The day and age of going in, having a sales rep come in, do your inventory, send in a bunch of frames, put a bunch of frames back, having enough staff to manage all of that. That's a thing of the past. The day and age, private equity has come in, and they have shown successful models. And so has the likes of your commercial establishments. They're successful in selling glasses, frames, and lenses. We use a system that the companies, our frame companies, put the frames on the board at no cost. And we've got 6 different frame vendors that we work with. One is actually even our own private label. They outfit our whole board with everything, name brands, everything that we need. They pay the cost on that, and we just pay as we sell something. They also manage the board. So they manage what the best sellers are. They get product in there. They want to sell it. It's to their best interest to keep the best sellers on the board. So what does that do for me as a practice owner? That takes my overhead of staff costs and I just move that to the frame vendor. So instead of having half of a full-time equivalent optician or a full-time equivalent optician meeting with sales reps, we've now removed the sales reps, allowed that optician to interact with the patient, and I no longer pay a staff member to interact with the sales reps, and my discounts on the frames are much higher because I've gone to the companies, and the company I use, there's a GPO that I use that we don't use sales reps, and so therefore our discounts are higher because the sales reps don't need to be compensated in that. And so that helps us be a lot more profitable in a very tight managed vision care environment. So that's been extremely successful. We repurpose those opticians. We don't get rid of them. We put them in front of the patient. So I can have my best opticians in front of the patient instead of training them how to manage inventory on the back end. And through this process, we've been able to push our cost of goods below 20%. It's been very profitable, very effective, and it helps us manage staff. That was the point of today, pain of staff management. I can now bring an optician in, get them trained up to show frames, to talk about lenses. That's all they need to do. They don't need to do the back end management. And so I like that. It's very efficient and works very well. So opticians that are new to optical, which we have a lot of, they can be trained a lot quicker. And then the veteran opticians are spending more time with the patient on the floor, training those new people. The new people see the veteran opticians and what they're doing good. And it's a great culture to really focus on the patient. Barrett, let's talk about hiring process ideas. So now you're hiring, and then 4 people a year. Now you're hiring 24 people a year, not because you've grown, but because the turnover is greater. So how does HR, how do you as a practice make that more efficient? Because there's some of us, we see patients all day long, and then we do interviews, 3 interviews after patient care, and that gets into 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, seeing these people. So we've changed that up, and it's been a very successful way to find interested parties that really want to come and want to work at our office. It also allows those interested parties to see if they're going to be a good fit. We do that by using a company like Indeed, something similar. There's a number of them out there. We get the resumes in. First thing we ask for if we like a resume, we say, please send in a video interview. Answer these 3 questions. You can use your phone, do a simple video, answer those questions, and send us in the video interview. We see that. That then sets up the first Zoom call, Teams call, whatever that might be, FaceTime call with the patient. We'll FaceTime them. Again, we've met them where they're at. They don't have to travel to our facility. We've interacted with them. If that all goes smooth, then we have them come in for a shadowing of about an hour. They come in when we're seeing patients. They shadow. They see what's going on. Also, they're set up to see one of our owner doctors, and so that we can interview them, just kind of ask about them, find out about them, see if they're going to be a good fit for our culture. So we look at the resume sent in. We ask them then to answer a couple of questions on video. That really sifts through those who are interested. So we may get 20 resumes that we like, 3 of them send in a video. Well, those 3 are interested in pursuing this further. We then get on a call with them. If we like the video, we get on a Zoom call with them, and one of my managers will interview them. And if they like them, they will then come in live and we will meet them. That seems to be a great process to cut down on the number of people who are falling through the cracks or showing they're interested, but yet then they never show up to interviews. They have to do something to show that they're interested. So just an idea in hiring process, how to make that system more efficient in getting the right people on board. Hopefully you guys haven't heard this. We've heard this. We have been successful. We have been growing from 1 practice to 5 practices throughout the Wichita area, 9 doctors. We have been just blessed with growth, and we still hear your office hours suck. And that's exactly what we hear. We're open Monday through Friday at noon, and we're open from 7:45 until 5 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. And then on Friday, we're open from 7:45 to 12. And you might think we're crazy, but I tell you, when I interview doctors, I work on bringing doctors in to give them a quality of life, a work-life balance. They love those hours. They work hard while we're here. We have systems in place like online scheduling that is not hour dependent. Um, that's probably the biggest thing, is getting patients to schedule appointments online. It also gets our staff off the phones. So we have the schedulers that are on the phones, but the more that we can get scheduling through the scheduling process that is enabled by Weave, there's other competitors that are great out there. We happen to use the Weave one, and we're getting scheduling patients. It comes in, we make sure everything's in line. We get a copy of their card, we get their information, they fill all of that out. So if it doesn't immediately sync into your EMR, you can copy and paste and verify that those numbers are correct. That has been huge for us in regards to our office hours. Ironically, our office hours being what they are, we have not sacrificed inpatient growth. Our KPI right now is we are 95% full each week, and we continue to be at that. In fact, we've got another doctor coming in April to help us with the busyness. Next thing, last slide I'm going to talk about, kind of an idea. This is second to last. I'm sorry. And then we'll wrap things up and have some questions. But your contact lens, let's talk about that. Contact lens margins are low. So why sell contact lenses? I think that's a fair question. I think that's a question. Why not just write a script, send them out, let somebody else make the very low margin in contact lenses? You got a couple options with that. One, do exactly that. Send people out and say, I'm not going to take the small margins that I get with contact lenses. That's one option. Second option is you can just increase your prices significantly and make it worth it to do it. A lot of patients may buy from you, but realize you're so much more expensive than competition that's online or down the road. Other thing I want you to think about, and this again goes back to pain points of staff. So if you're going to reduce the reliance on people, you have to have systems in place that are going to replace what those people are doing. Now, don't hear me wrong. People are extremely important. People doing the right things are extremely important. That is patient-facing things that you cannot replace with technology. I will tell you my opinion, opinions of our doctors. You cannot replace a doctor-patient relationship face-to-face, reading faces, interacting, a touch on the arm. You cannot replace that with a video chat. One of the things I'm very aware of is when I tell patients difficult news, I will read them and I may lightly touch their arm. There's a lot of good communication in that, as far as empathy, as far as understanding. When you're compassionate with the person, it's very difficult to be compassionate and empathize through a video chat. I don't think the doctor for a period of time is going to be replaced by video when it comes to optometry and in the clinic. When it comes to processing contact lenses, I definitely think you can replace your staff. Why not ship all of your contact lenses free to patients, except for the trials, and have all the ordering done with a system that allows your patients to order online? It's all through you. You don't have to have, I used to have staff that would spend 12 hours a week at least processing. That's when we had one location or two locations processing contact lens orders. So you'd order the contact lenses, they'd come in a huge box. You'd pull out each one of them to verify that's what was ordered. You would put the patient's name on it. You would then call them. You would either put them into the Weave system to remind them that they need to come pick it up. The patient would then sometimes come and pick it up, but they were busy, and then they were frustrated that your hours weren't convenient with them. So when we made the transition to every box of contact lenses get shipped free to the patient, you would be surprised of what we had to raise our cost per box. It's not very much at all to cover all of that shipping when it's set up right. Now, patients, we never see a box of contact lenses go through our 5 locations. They all go to the patient from the manufacturer, and the patient does the data input into the technology, does the ordering. We've not seen a drop in ordering. If anything, we have seen an increase. Why? Because we're meeting patients where they want to do business with us. So we can keep the contact lens pricing extremely competitive with the major online competitors, and we can put it so that they can order their contact lenses at 10:30 at night. Their patients are perfectly happy. So stocking contact lenses, highly recommend you cut that out, streamline it, get rid of processing contact lenses. You will get rid of staff overhead. You will be able to take that staff person and put them out with the patient on the floor, either selling glasses, adjusting glasses. They'll be able to interact face to face with the patient. Last thing, we're so busy we can't do everything. We need more staff. This is usually what your staff says. Ironically, as I'm doing this webinar, I've not looked up, but I have a large screen TV that has, I don't know how many cameras on it. I happen to use Arlo cameras. And what I utilize with that, we don't record any of it. I can turn them on. I only turn them on for a short period of time, but I can watch all 5 of our opticals, and I can see that Tuesday morning from 8 to 12, we had 5 people go through the optical. And so when my staff or managers come back and say, we're extremely busy, I like to call this game film. What game film is seeing in real time what's going on in your opticals, what's going on at the front desk. Are we truly busy or are we truly inefficient? And what you will find with game film is you have this, you see a patient that's coming in, you might record it for a short period of time only for teaching purposes. Definitely let your patients know that, hey, this might be recorded for teaching purposes, but you record an interaction with staff or you record patients coming in. You use that then as game film to teach your staff to say, hey, there is a big gap in what you tell me you're busy and what's actually happening in the practices. Now, what's ironic about that is you will get pushback. You will get pushback from the staff that are not hard workers. They want to be on their phone. They don't want you to see what's going on. You will have staff that love you. And what love you means is when I see them doing something right on camera, I immediately get on chat and I praise them and I tell them what a phenomenal job they're doing. They absolutely love the cameras. They tell their other staff members, those cameras aren't bad. They're seeing that I'm working and doing a good job. So what's happening is we're separating staff members who do not like the cameras and those who are getting caught on camera doing great things, and we're praising them for that. So the other thing that we utilize besides the cameras is, like I said, we use the VoIP with Weave. They got great statistics and analytics of phone calls we're missing. So then I can look and see staffing wise, do we have the right people in the right place in addressing where the patients are at? Because it'll tells us what phone calls are missed, when our highest volume is. I can tell you throughout the week, I've got to have more staff on the phones Monday. We get over 500 calls on Monday, and at a time we were missing about 50% of those. Immediately repurpose somebody from the front desk literally that week and said, you're off of the front desk. You're now answering phones 100%. We're going to meet those people where they're at. That ends up in more scheduled appointments. That ends up in happier patients. You know, it's just about real time seeing what's going on. And so I really appreciate that about the analytics that I have with the software that I use through Weave. There's other, I mean, this is a Weave webinar. There's other great software out there. I just happen to use Weave and like Weave and have liked them for a long period of time because I like things that are all in one space, that I don't have to use a lot of different companies' technology and piecemeal those. I like that everything is done by one company and done well. And I also watch the company that they are progressively getting better. You can tell that with companies as they're working on things. And so that's been an important part. So in conclusion, before I address any questions that we have, problems present opportunities. So if you're frustrated, you're not new. You're not new to the weekly pains of running an optometry office. I'm frustrated. I can tell you problems I'm working on as we speak. And as I get off this webinar, I'm going to have to go address and continue to work on. But there are opportunities to become better, to become more efficient. Through all of this, in the last 3 to 5 years, we're more profitable, as profitable or more profitable than we were before the whole hiccups with staffing. But we've pivoted. We have implemented changes. I've given you a lot of opportunities today to take valuable things and implement them. That's the part that most offices don't do. They complain because complaining's easy. Go and implement it. Go through it's countercurrent to implement things because you got to do change. And everybody's going to push back at you for change and tell you every reason why it's not going to work. You want to listen, but you also want to forge forward because you want to keep giving them raises. You want to keep being a viable office to keep things healthy and to keep taking care of your patients. Solving problems with cost-effective solutions result in life margin. What you'll find and what I see in a lot of P&Ls and business reports of optometrists, we're living at a time where optometrists are working harder and harder, and the dollars they're taking home are less and less. So you've got to implement these things to give you that margin back, to give you those profits back. Don't be afraid to try. The downside risk is low, the upside benefit is high. If something fails, you can undo it. I've failed at numerous things, and we've undone it. Where I'm in the process of undoing something. I thought it was a great idea in verification to separate the managed vision care and the health insurance and have two different people verifying. It's been a disaster. That was my idea. I own it. We're having to undo that and revisit how that gets done. Doing nothing is doing something. So if you walk away from this webinar and you're like, you don't change a thing, you did something. You made a decision. You made a decision to keep the status quo and to accept that the status quo is good enough for you. That tells me you're not frustrated enough, or you're a much higher risk taker than what I would consider myself to be. Because doing nothing is actually more risk than doing something when it comes to making adjustments for the future of your practice. And then the last thing is look for digital solutions that allow you to repurpose staff so you don't have to hire more staff. I'm not saying get rid of your staff. I'm just saying prepare for when the next staff resigns. You may not have to hire more staff because you've put the right technology in place to automate those pain points. Front desk kiosk was one. The way we're doing optical with frames on the board, frame model, the whole thing consignment, the companies run it. The frames don't even come to us. They come directly from the frame vendor to the lab. All of that, all automated. There's a lot of things that you can, the contact lenses, all automated. I don't need staff hands on that. Figure out ways to do that so when your next staff quits, your pain point is addressed by automation. So with that, Barrett, that kind of concludes my overview of the things we can do for the pain points that we have in our office. I am open to questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Fleming. First question here comes from Amy. She is asking, what check-in kiosk do you use?
It's called a bootstrap. And what that is that little background very quickly. I have been on advisory boards for multiple technologies within our space of optometry. None of them have done this well, where patients will actually implement it. So what I did very simply is, whether you like Google or don't like Google, their collaboration, the way their technology works, is the best in the industry of real time. So we created a Google form. The Google form is on the iPad. That Google form then, when they hit submit, goes to a Google Sheet, and everybody has a tab pulled up in Chrome, Safari, whatever it might be, has a tab pulled up, and that immediately updates to where we don't have to. So our current EMR, we actually have to go in there and to we have to say they're there, do various things like that. So for the time being, until my EMR solves the problem or Weave solves the problem that integrates into the EMR, we've made it very simple. Also, the forms allows me to design it quickly in what I need on that form. So it's very simple. The 90-year-olds can do it. Amy, you're going to get pushback and say, well, the older people can't do it. I've personally watched them do it. They can do it. It's just different. And you make it super easy. So it's forms, it's Google Forms, and then the sheets is what all of our admin and all of our staff pull up. Doctors even have it. So when they're sitting back in their space waiting for patients, they see immediately when that patient checks in and see why the patient's checking in. We also have it in the optical. So there's a section down there they can skip, or they can say, I'm here for optical and here's why, so that when it presents itself on the sheet, all of my opticians can easily see what's going on, and my manager oversees that to see if there's a troubleshooting or something that comes in that we may or may not be able to manage. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks for that question, Amy. So, Dr. Fleming, I have one more question. This goes back to your slide about your office hours suck. And you said that in spite of hearing that, your offices are doing well, and I've seen your reviews, they're overwhelmingly positive. So I'm just curious if you hear this in a review format and then you answer that question and they update their review to be positive, or do they say it at the front desk, like, your office hours suck, but I like you guys so much anyway. Let's schedule another appointment. Like, how does that play out?
We get it more verbally. We've got it over the years through staff, through patients just saying it. They typically, I haven't had it that big of a deal on the reviews. You're correct. We do have very, very strong reviews, and that is less than 0.5% of what somebody might complain of on the review in regards to our hours. The reason they don't complain on the reviews is because we're accessible outside of brick and mortar hours, and that's a big deal for people. They see that as open. And so
Right.
that's what you have to figure out is, how am I open, quote unquote, 24/7, 365, without actually having to pay my staff and be present? And that's where technologies come in. I mean, you know this, but Weave's a big part of that, and how we just utilize the systems. I think that's where I come in and I coach various offices. They don't utilize the technology. If they have the technology, they're paying for it, they don't utilize it to its fullest.
Mm.
That's hard to do, but that's my encouragement.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Well, hey, thanks again to Dr. Fleming for being here, for presenting this great information. Like you said, dive in, execute. We appreciate everyone for joining. Remember, you can access this on demand. Go to getweave.com, go to our resources and webinar section, and you can access this at any time. Thanks again to Dr. Fleming and everyone, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.